You're not family anymore. Janet's voice crackled through my phone speaker, dripping with the same contempt she'd shown since Marcus's funeral. Thanksgiving is for actual family members, not leftovers. I gripped my coffee mug tighter, watching my 8-year-old Emma arrange her father's photos on our living room wall. 6 months after losing Marcus to a sudden heart attack, and his sister was already erasing us from the family. The kids were looking forward to seeing their cousins, I said quietly, trying to keep my voice steady. They miss their father, Janet. They need their family right now. Well, they should have thought about that before you refused to sell us the lake house, she snapped. That property belongs to the Williams family. Just because Marcus foolishly put it in your name doesn't make it yours. Ah, there it was. The real reason for this call. The lake house, a stunning property that had been in Marcus's family for generations. Janet had been trying to get her hands on it since before Marcus's death, constantly hinting that she and her husband deserved it more than us. Marcus wanted us to have it, I replied, watching Emma carefully arrange the last photo. He knew how much the kids loved spending summers there. Please, Janet scoffed. You've been trying to take everything from us since day one. First, you convinced Marcus to move across town. Then you turned him against us with your ridiculous ideas about boundaries. And now you're clutching onto property that rightfully belongs to his blood family. I thought about the countless family dinners I'd hosted, the holidays I'd organized, the years I'd spent trying to bridge the gap between Marcus and his controlling family. None of that mattered to Janet now. In her eyes, I was just an intruder who'd overstayed her welcome. Listen carefully, she continued, her voice sharp. Thanksgiving dinner is at my house at 3 p.m. The real family will be there. Mom, Dad, our cousins, everyone who actually belongs. You and your kids can find somewhere else to go. Maybe that lake house you're so fond of. Before I could respond, she hung up. I set my phone down, my hands trembling slightly. How could I tell Emma and her 10-year-old brother, Jack, that their aunt had banned us from Thanksgiving? They'd already lost so much. Mom? Emma's voice pulled me from my thoughts. She stood before the wall of photos, her father's smile reflected in a dozen captured moments. Did you know Daddy kept this picture in his wallet? She held up a worn photograph, Marcus and me on our wedding day, both of us laughing as cake frosting dotted our noses. I remembered that moment perfectly. Janet had been furious that we'd chosen a casual reception instead of the formal affair she'd insisted upon. He carried it everywhere, I said, pulling Emma close. Said it reminded him of why he fell in love with me, because I could always make him laugh. Aunt Janet doesn't laugh much, Emma observed innocently. Maybe that's why she's always so mean to us. Out of the mouths of babes. I hugged her tighter, breathing in the familiar scent of her strawberry shampoo. Sometimes people let anger make their choices for them, sweetheart. But that's their burden to carry, not ours. Later that evening, after putting the kids to bed, I sat in Marcus's old study, surrounded by the remnants of his life. His reading glasses still perched on top of unfinished paperwork, his favorite coffee mug gathering dust on the desk. I opened his laptop, navigating to a folder he'd shown me just weeks before his death. Just in case anything happens to me, he'd said, his expression unusually serious. Everything you need to know is in here. Promise me you'll read it if, well, just promise me. I promised, never imagining I'd need to fulfill it so soon. Inside the folder were dozens of documents, financial records, property deeds, and a video file dated 3 days before his death. With trembling fingers, I pressed play. Marcus's face filled the screen, his kind eyes crinkling at the corners as he smiled. Hi, love, he began. If you're watching this, something's happened to me. I know my family, especially Janet, will try to make things difficult for you and the kids. They never understood why I chose to break free from their control, why I picked happiness with you over their suffocating expectations. He paused, running a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made my heart ache. I've made arrangements to protect you all. The lake house is legally yours, as you know. But there's more. Janet's been trying to get her hands on the old Victorian mansion downtown. The one Mom and Dad promised her years ago. What she doesn't know is that I bought it last month. My breath caught. The Victorian mansion had been Janet's obsession for years. She'd already planned how she'd renovate it, even picked out paint colors. Their parents had promised to sell it to her at a fraction of its value, a gesture of favoritism that had always bothered Marcus. I'm leaving the mansion to the kids, Marcus continued. Put it in a trust until they're older. Janet can't touch it, can't bully you into selling it. I know it seems harsh, but I've watched her manipulate and scheme for years. She needs to learn that actions have consequences. A knock at my door startled me out of my thoughts. It was Jack, his eyes puffy from crying. Mom, I had a bad dream. About Dad. I closed the laptop and opened my arms. He crawled into my lap, though he was getting almost too big for it. I miss him, he whispered. And now Aunt Janet won't let us come for Thanksgiving. Hey, I said, kissing the top of his head. How about we make our own Thanksgiving? Just us at the lake house. We can invite your friends from school, maybe some of the neighbors. Build new traditions. He looked up at me, a small smile breaking through his tears. Can we have pizza instead of turkey? Absolutely. Your dad would have loved that idea. I held him close, thinking about Marcus's video, about Janet's cruelty, about the revelations waiting in the well that would be read next week. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about rising above, about building something better from the ashes of what's been lost. Janet might have banned us from her Thanksgiving, but she couldn't ban us from being happy, from honoring Marcus's memory in our own way. And soon enough, she'd learn that her actions had consequences she never saw coming. The week leading up to Thanksgiving brought an unexpected snowfall, and even more unexpected drama. Word of Janet's decision to exclude us from the family gathering had spread, causing a rift among the extended family. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from cousins and aunts, some expressing outrage, others carefully diplomatic. You can't just cut them out, Janet, I overheard Marcus's mother say during a heated phone call with her daughter. They're still family? No, Mom, Janet's voice carried through the speaker. She's not family anymore. She's just the woman Marcus was stupid enough to marry. And those kids, they barely even look like him. I ended the accidental eavesdropping, my blood boiling. The will reading was scheduled for tomorrow, the day before Thanksgiving. Janet had no idea what was coming, but her latest attack on my children had erased any guilt I might have felt about Marcus's final surprise. That evening, as I prepared dinner, Jack appeared in the kitchen clutching a stack of papers. Mom, look what I found in Dad's old briefcase. They were blueprints, detailed renovation plans for the Victorian mansion. Marcus had been working with an architect, planning to restore the historic home to its former glory. The margins were filled with his handwriting. Kids' playroom here, Emma's art studio, Jack's telescope spot. Dad was going to give us the big house? Jack asked, his eyes wide. Before I could respond, the doorbell rang. It was Janet, standing on our porch with her usual air of superiority. We need to talk, she announced, rushing past me into the house. The kids are home, I warned, but she was already stalking into the living room. Perfect, they should hear this too. She turned to face me, her designer purse clutched like a shield. I'm offering you a deal. Sign over the lake house to me, and I'll let you all come to Thanksgiving. Emma, who had been reading on a couch, looked up with hurt in her eyes. You mean we can only come if Mom gives you our summer house? Janet barely glanced at her. The adults are talking, sweetheart. Why don't you go to your room? No, I said firmly. This is their home, and that lake house is their inheritance from their father. You don't get to barge in here and make demands. That's rich, Janet sneered. Speaking of inheritance, I hope you're prepared for tomorrow. Mom and Dad have already spoken to their lawyer. Everything of value goes to actual family members. I thought of Marcus's video, of the documents safely stored with our lawyer, of the shocked expressions Janet and her parents would wear tomorrow. But I kept my face neutral. We'll see. You really don't get it, do you? Janet stepped closer, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper. You were never good enough for my brother. He could have married someone from our circle, someone who understood our family's position in society. Instead, he picked you, a kindergarten teacher with nothing to offer but a pretty smile. Jack appeared in the doorway, his father's blueprints still in his hands. Dad said Mom's smile was worth more than all the money in the world. Janet spun around, her face flushing when she saw the papers. Where did you get those? Dad's briefcase, Jack replied. He was planning something special, something you didn't know about. For a moment, Janet's composure cracked. She reached for the blueprints, but Jack quickly backed away. Those are family documents, she snapped. Hand them over. We are family, Emma said quietly, joining her brother. even if you don't want us to be. Janet's laugh was cold. Oh, sweetie, biology doesn't lie. You two barely have a drop of William's blood in you. Tomorrow at the will reading, everything will go to the real heirs, me, Mom, and Dad. Then we'll see who's family. She turned on her heel and stormed out, leaving behind the lingering scent of expensive perfume and bitter resentment. That night, I held my children close as we looked through old photo albums. Your father loved you more than anything in this world, I told them. No one can take that away, not even Aunt Janet. But what if she's right? Emma whispered. What if we don't get anything tomorrow? I kissed her forehead, thinking of Marcus's video, of his careful planning, of the justice waiting to be served. Your dad took care of us, sweetheart. He always did. The next morning dawned cold and clear. I dressed carefully in the navy blue suit Marcus had given me for our last anniversary, helped Emma pick out her favorite dress, and made sure Jack's tie was straight. We were early to the lawyer's office, taking seats directly across from where Janet and her parents would sit. They arrived in a group, Janet leading the way like a general into battle. Her parents followed, their faces set in matching expressions of disdain. Several cousins and aunts filed in after them, the room quickly filling with whispered conversations and sidelong glances. Mr. Peterson, Marcus's longtime lawyer and friend, cleared his throat. Thank you all for coming. Before we begin the formal reading of Marcus Williams's last will and testament, he left a video message to be played for the family. Janet's head snapped up. A video? We weren't informed of any video. Marcus was very specific about his wishes, Mr. Peterson replied, pressing play on a large screen mounted on the wall. The room fell silent as Marcus appeared, looking directly into the camera with the quiet confidence I'd always loved about him. Hi, everyone, he began. If you're watching this, then I'm gone. And knowing my family, especially you, Janet, the knives are probably already out. Janet shifted uncomfortably in her seat as Marcus continued. I've watched for years as our family's obsession with status and appearances poisoned everything it touched. I chose a different path. I chose love over prestige, happiness over social climbing. I chose Sarah and our children, and it was the best decision I ever made. Tears slid down my cheeks as his image smiled that familiar, gentle smile. So here's what's going to happen. The lake house, as already documented, belongs to Sarah and the kids. But there's more. Janet, you've had your eye on the Victorian mansion for years. Mom, Dad, you promised it to her, even though you knew how much that hurt me. The room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Marcus's parents had gone pale, and Janet was gripping her armrest so tightly her knuckles were white. I bought the mansion last month, Marcus revealed, and I'm leaving it to my children to be held in trust until they're 21. Not because they deserve it more than you, Janet, but because they'll appreciate it for what it is, a home, not a status symbol. As Marcus detailed the rest of his wishes, I watched Janet's perfect facade crumble. Everything she'd assumed would be hers, the mansion, the family art collection, even their grandmother's prized jewelry, was going to the people she tried so hard to push away. The video ended, but Marcus's presence lingered in the stunned silence that followed. Tomorrow would be Thanksgiving, and for the first time since losing him, I felt truly grateful. Not for the inheritance, but for the man who loved us enough to protect us even after he was gone. Mr. Peterson picked up the formal documents, but I barely heard him begin the official reading. I was too busy holding my children, watching Janet's world shift on its axis and feeling Marcus's love wrap around us like a warm embrace. You can't do this. Janet's voice echoed through the lawyer's office as Mr. Peterson finished reading the will. This is completely unfair. That mansion was promised to me. Her outburst shattered the stunned silence that had fallen over the room. Marcus's parents sat motionless, their faces ashen as the full impact of their son's decisions sank in. The will is legally binding, Mr. Peterson stated calmly. Marcus was very thorough in his documentation and reasoning. I gathered my children close as Janet spun to face us, her perfectly manicured finger pointing accusingly. You knew about this. You all knew and let me make a fool of myself. Like when you banned us from Thanksgiving? Jack asked innocently. Or when you said we weren't real family? Janet's face flushed dark red. She opened her mouth to respond, but her father finally spoke up. Enough, Janet. Your brother made his choices. We all have to live with them. As we left the lawyer's office, snow had started falling again, dusting the world in white. Emma squeezed my hand. Mom, can we still have pizza for Thanksgiving tomorrow? Absolutely, sweetheart. I smiled, thinking how much Marcus would have loved this moment. In fact, let's make it a tradition. That evening, unexpected visitors arrived at our door. Marcus's parents stood awkwardly on our porch, looking smaller somehow, more human than I'd ever seen them. We've been foolish, his mother said softly. Marcus tried to tell us for years, but we wouldn't listen. Would it be possible to join your Thanksgiving tomorrow? I looked at my children, letting them make the choice. They nodded eagerly. We're having pizza instead of turkey, Jack announced. Dad would have liked that. For the first time in years, I saw genuine warmth in my mother-in-law's smile. Yes, he would have. Thanksgiving Day dawned bright and clear, our house filled with the sound of laughter as Jack and Emma showed their grandparents their father's photo wall. The doorbell kept ringing as cousins, aunts, and uncles arrived, family members Janet had tried to control over the years. We got your text about the pizza Thanksgiving. Marcus's cousin Mike grinned, holding up extra boxes. Count us in. Janet didn't show up, but somehow her absence made the gathering feel more genuine, more true to Marcus's memory. As everyone settled in with paper plates and pizza slices, his mother stood up, tears glistening in her eyes. I'd like to propose a toast, she said, to Marcus, who taught us that real family isn't about properties or prestige. It's about love, acceptance, and yes, even pizza on Thanksgiving. Later that night, after the guests had gone and the kids were in bed, I sat on our back porch, looking at the stars. The Victorian mansion was visible in the distance, its grand silhouette a reminder of everything that had changed. My phone buzzed with a text from Janet. This isn't over. You've turned everyone against me. I thought about responding but decided that some silences speak louder than words. Instead, I opened Marcus's video on my laptop one more time, letting his voice wash over me. Remember, love, his recorded image said, sometimes the biggest gift we can give our children isn't property or money. It's the courage to stand up for what's right, to choose love over bitterness, joy over spite. The next morning, a moving truck appeared outside Janet's house. She was leaving town, someone said, moving to Florida to start fresh. The Victorian mansion would stand empty until the kids were old enough to decide its fate. But that was okay. The house wasn't what mattered. It never had been. What mattered was the lesson Marcus had taught us all. That family isn't defined by blood or inheritance, but by the choices we make and the love we share. As I watched Emma and Jack playing in the snow with their cousins that weekend, I realized Marcus had given us something far more valuable than property. He'd given us the chance to rebuild his family the right way, based on love instead of obligation, joy instead of status. And somewhere, I knew he was watching, probably smiling that gentle smile of his, maybe even laughing at the thought of pizza becoming our new Thanksgiving tradition. Some people say revenge is best served cold. But sometimes, the best revenge is simply living well, surrounded by love, making new memories that heal old wounds. And as I looked around at our unconventional family gathering, I knew we'd done exactly what Marcus had hoped we would. We'd chosen happiness over bitterness, love over spite, pizza over turkey. That, more than any inheritance, was his true legacy.